So let's begin. Springtime 2025. What is it about springtime that makes us all feel maybe a little younger? I'm going to take a little walk today and hopefully we can meet some new animals. Maybe we can see a few things that will give us a reason to get outside, put on some shorts, and thank the Lord that we are finally on the right side of winter. One of the first things we're going to look at today is something blue. I think there are 4 of them in there, and I don't think Mom and Dad are home, but let's just see. The beginning of spring sometimes starts with the bluebirds. So every year we have a variety of nests around, and maybe this year, with the help of Mother Nature, maybe we'll actually get to see the progression of the bluebird eggs to the small bluebirds, and then we can go from there. This, in about a month and a half, will look much different. My wife and her sister like to do a little gardening where they can grow some vegetables and all of that good stuff. So right now it doesn't look like much. Here we have what is called yellow groove bamboo. Yellow groove bamboo, it's an amazing plant as long as you can keep it under control. It's one of these plants that every year the new shoots will grow 20 to 30 feet tall. And interesting part of yellow groove bamboo is that the rhizomes of this plant will literally grow out as far as they are tall. So if my yellow groove bamboo is actually 25 feet tall, and then in the springtime I can expect the rhizomes and new plants to be growing as far as 25 feet out. When's the last time you've walked through a bamboo forest? Not often do you find bamboo forests, especially in southern Indiana. But today, I'm going to give you an idea that if you did find a bamboo forest, what would it look like? Imagine going through miles and miles and miles of this, how tightly it's woven, how tall, how dense. But the good news is we're not having to walk through miles and miles. We're only going to have to walk through, about 25 or 30 feet. But yellow groove bamboo, one of the more popular types of bamboo that you'll see growing in the Midwest and southern Indiana, it can be invasive if you don't know how to keep it controlled. But as you can look up and see, this is what it would feel like if you were in a true bamboo forest. But for me, I don't need a forest. All I need is about 150 square feet. It makes me feel like I'm in the tropics or the Amazon or something like that. As we come out of the bamboo forest, we now have the vision of Tot. You guys have met Tot before. Tot is a security cat here at our place. He is also the caddy who, go ahead Tot, you want something to say? Tot, you have thoughts? No, he's very shy, but yeah, Tot is also my caddy. As we walk around today, we'll talk a little bit about turf, synthetic turf, synthetic turf golf courses, why I do believe the future of golf on a private basis is going to be synthetic turf golf courses, mainly par threes. Here, another harbinger of spring. Our friend Fred the Frog. This is one of the types of aquatics that I talk about we really enjoy doing for many years in the business. But water gardening is still quite popular. Soon you'll get to see a bunch of Nishiki Goi or jewels of the pond in the water garden itself. But right now, it's just the ambiance and the relaxation of water that makes us kind of feel like spring is here. The colors of spring, I think, are one of the big reasons that we all don't mind getting dirty around the house, doing the landscaping. As each new plant begins to bloom, we're given a different form of color nearly every day. So if landscaping is your love, hopefully you can appreciate all the different colors, the different textures. Right here, you're seeing one of the more unique serpentine weeping pine trees that we have on the property. I do like the fact that from a distance, this tree looks a little bit almost like a human form. At least in my mind it is. So turf, you're going to hear us talk about turf a lot. Synthetic turf was something that the company started dealing with nearly 27 to 28 years ago. This was one of the first putting greens that we put in. It's an NP50 putting green from Synthetic Turf International. And what I love about this turf is that in the 28 years it's been here, other than blowing it off with a blower, I haven't had to do much with it. And that's why the idea of putting together a private synthetic turf exclusivity golf course came to mind many, many years ago because of the incredible value and the amazing low maintenance that you have with turf versus 5, 6, 7 different types of grasses out there. The beautiful thing about synthetic turf that caught my eye was that once it's down, other than using a blower, all right, there's not a whole lot of maintenance to it. So the idea of putting together a private golf course of 18 holes that could be approached by 12 tee boxes with 4 to 5 3,000 to 4,000 square foot greens kind of became not only my passion, but it also became my challenge. You'll see out there, that was one of the new greens we put in last year. You'll hear me talk about a company called Southwest Greens Midwest. A pretty amazing green to say the least, and I'll share a lot more with you about the company. That green took about 17 to 18 days to install, and with the bunkers and the amount of pitch on that green, it was quite amazing to see the detail they put into it. Synthetic turf, again, a product that has been around for a very, very long time. You're starting to see more of it simply because it is my belief that golf courses of the future are going to be dealing and working more with turf. The amount of money that golf courses are having to spend, traditional golf courses with labor, equipment, irrigation, chemicals, the constant daily need that most golf courses require are making it more and more difficult for certain golf courses, particularly public, to stay profitable. So private golf courses, and no, they're happening all over the country, are something you're going to be hearing more about, and this is an example of one in southern Indiana. As we go down towards the golf course, what you're seeing here is a very long water course. Pump's not on right now. But this is one of the things that on a daily basis, when I walk the course, I love walking the actual waterfall itself. You're going to hear me talk a lot about my belief that for those of us who are in our 50s, 60s, 70s, and we want to live to the 80s, 90s, and beyond, I am 100% convinced that if you want your body to feel like it did when you were 40 and 30 and 20, I'm going to tell you to continue to do the same things that you did back then. Don't let your body feel like it's getting old. Make your body go out and perform the same things it did when you were younger. But the only way that is going to happen is if you go out and you do the same things physically that you used to do. I don't believe it's just a matter of a diet. I don't believe it's just a matter of a workout. I think psychologically you've got to be able to try to do the things that you did when you were younger, and if you do it on a daily basis, you'll be amazed at how well you feel by continuing to treat your body like it's still young. So, on my silly morning walk that you hear me talk about all the time, it's about an hour and 15 minutes. I try to make myself do about 50 different types of exercises that basically affects every part of the body. By doing that, whether it's reaching down and finding golf balls, or walking on a vertical tree, or doing my bouldering, which you're starting to see right there, I am a true believer that you are as young as you feel, but I'm also a true believer that you've got to make your body continue to do the physical workouts that you used to do when you were younger. If you have that kind of job that you're sitting at a desk every day, or you have that kind of job that you're not able to physically go out and do the things you did as a kid, well, at some point your body is going to start to say that I don't feel like doing that. I am going to hopefully show you ways that for your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond, that you can take your body and you can make your body behave physically the way you want it to. Only time will tell as we look out on the lake here and we get to see the small turtle making his way. And then we see suddenly this is what your floating golf ball looks like. That for many of the lake shots, I like to use the floating golf balls. But once again, what if you had the ability at an early age to start planning a plan in your 20s and 30s of what you wanted to do and be in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond? Well, here's an example. And this example did not occur overnight, by no means. this example in this kind of different, unique backyard was just something that day by day, over 11,000 days, I just added one more little element every chance I got. Whether it's a bridge made of Italian slate, which we'll share another bridge here in a little bit, or it was a whole lot of stone that happened upon my property that once I realized it wasn't the best of stone, I said, well, let's use it as a form of bouldering that every day I can jump across the stone as quickly and as safely as I can. Because I do believe you've got to have balance in your later life if you want to do some things that are a little out of the ordinary. The magnolias are looking awesome right now. Your star magnolias, remember the white ones, these are Kim magnolias. But a beautiful shrub if you're wanting to see purple this time of year. You're going to see some interesting trees that look very, very different compared to where they were 4 months ago. We had a pretty serious ice storm this winter, and certain types of trees, our river birch, our pine trees, some of our maples took quite a beating. For most people, you would think now we have to take these trees and we have to cut them down, shape them, trim them back, and I guess what, burn them or something? Yeah, maybe. But before we do that, let's take this God moment, as I call it, and let's see what would happen on some of these trees if they just might survive. In front of us here, what can you do with a big old tree if you cut it up just right and you make the right kind of boards? You can make a trebuchet. You ever built a trebuchet? They're an amazing apparatus. Catapults are probably what most people know them as, but a trebuchet can give you an incredible amount of fun. And if you're into physics, the accuracy of a trebuchet, knowing your counterweights and the rate of your projectile and the percentage and degree of when the actual thing lets loose, can really and truly be a fun little toy in your backyard. Especially if you like aiming at burning items. Yeah, you'll hear us talk a little bit about burning islands and how destroying them with gallon jugs of water on a nice, fun summer day is somewhat exciting. What is wastage? Imagine you want to build a golf course in your backyard. Imagine you're going to do it with confidence and patience and respect. And imagine that the best way to do it without getting yourself in any kind of real trouble is that you plan ahead. Tot, once again, Tot, do you agree with that? You do. Okay, so Tot does agree with planning ahead. So one of the things I'll do on this golf course as I'm building the 12 tee boxes, I will lay out for about a year what I think I want as one of the next holes. I can lay it out with turf that has been used that has no humongous great value, other than I can now pretty much paint a picture of what my next green is going to look like. And then from the 12 different tee boxes around the property, once I decide to pull the trigger and build the green to near perfection, I have a pretty good idea that after hitting 1,000 balls in this direction, how I want it to lay out. Another thing you might see in certain parts of the country is the makings of a potential whale shark. Imagine Brazilian slate came into your hands 15 years ago, and you've learned with Brazilian slate that there's a whole lot of different things you can do with it. Most of this Brazilian slate originally was supposed to be at the bottom of a pool table. As you can see, these were the cups, those were the holes. Brazilian slate and Italian slate are used extensively for pool tables. And yes, because of what I used to do, I was able to collect for a fee to them about 300 pieces of Brazilian slate. And these pieces, after weathering them in the Midwestern weather for about 5 to 7 years, I was able to realize some amazing things I could do with this product. Again, for many people, it's just a bunch of slate and it probably just needs to be thrown away. Years later, when you realize that each piece of slate costs about $325, and you've got a couple hundred pieces, your mind, if it's a good creative mind, starts to put together a whole bunch of ideas of what you can do with Brazilian slate. Wastage. Wastage, wastage. So, tee box, basically right now just built with pieces of turf that you'd normally throw away, allows you to imagine one of the tee boxes that is a fairly short shot across the lake. The beautiful part about this tee box is, if you're tired of playing golf, well, and you're wanting to throw something at somebody, well, you don't want to throw these. But at this particular golf course, we are not afraid to realize that some people over time get frustrated with their golf, right? So let's give them an axe throwing area that they can play with. Let's see how we do. Okay, there is one stroke. There is two strokes. When I started putting the idea of a private golf course together, I had to admit that even I get bored with golf after a certain period of time. So let's create a course where if you get bored or you're playing poorly and you're so mad that you want to throw your clubs into the lake, I decided to put together an area that instead you could calm your frustrations by throwing axes. Again, as long as you have signed the waiver. But back to the whale shark. If you ever get a chance, if you love the ocean, if you're a snorkeler or a swimmer, I highly recommend you take an opportunity and go and swim with whale sharks. The whale shark actually is going to look a little bit more like this. All right. So here is a whale shark swimming around an island. No, you won't see any of these in southern Indiana. You will see these in Atlanta. Go to the Atlanta Aquatic Center, one of the most incredible aquariums in the world, and you'll get to see 3 fairly nice size whale sharks inside an aquarium. But if you really want to play with whale sharks, take a trip to Mexico sometime, jump on a boat, and they will take you out to the pod of whale sharks. No, they don't look like this. This was just what I decided to do with some of my Brazilian slate that over time was broken. And what size? How large do whale sharks get? Well, 40 feet is close to their max. So imagine from the tail to the dorsal. Imagine it going all the way up to the head. This is only 20 feet. If I continued to grow my whale shark to the size it actually can become, it would be about this large. Swimming next to a 40-foot whale shark out in the beautiful ocean, I must say, was one of those moments, even though I could only keep up with him for about 4 minutes. It was one of those moments that I had to check off that list and then figure out a way that I could build my own whale shark on this piece of property. One of the things I decided a long time ago is that I am one that I like doing a bunch of things all at one time. As a landscaper, I realized after 30 years of landscaping over 4,000 backyards, why not just take one more backyard and for your next 30 years just landscape one more yard? But take the last 35 years of landscaping experience, and why don't you come up with something a little different? Do something that every day an idea can come to you, and then play with it. Play with the idea and take your time with confidence. Do my research with patience. Take my time and don't feel like I have to go out and spend $3 million on one golf course all at one time. But at the same time, do it in a way that every day I'm getting both the physical, mental, and emotional workout I feel is important to give your last 30 or 40 years a bump. To give your last 30, 40, maybe even 50 years an opportunity that every day you got a plan, you've got the ability, and most of all, you got the imagination to go out and build something a little different. Realizing absolutely there will always be people that will look at your golf course and say, that guy's an idiot. What's with that blue tarp, and why is it covering all of the televisions, and why is there something behind the dam that just doesn't quite make sense, and why in the world would he take Brazilian slate as part of his dam? Most dams aren't built with Brazilian slate, are they? don't know. But I can tell you that if you throw something out there and you watch it for about 5 years, you start to become a little creative what you can do long term. Back to turf. So after mowing this property for about 1,000 times, 30 times a year, 30 years, one of my favorite shots, one of the greatest moments, was me having an idea that let's have one of our shots. I think we're calling this shot number 9. John's favorite. This would be a nice hole. 165, 185 yards, a couple bunkers, something that for some people might look good in the springtime. Not everybody thinks that having 2 white bunkers in the shape of hearts is beautiful, but that's okay. I tell you all the time, if you're trying to convince the world of your dream and you think everyone's going to agree with that dream, I'm really sorry, that's not going to happen. As I try to teach young people who are dreamers and visionaries, it's always pretty consistent that your dream is your dream, maybe only for a while. But I'm here to share with you that there's a whole lot of things you can do as long as you don't worry about how people feel about it. So you'll see the little island I've created. I'm not exactly sure what kind of animals are going to hang out there, but I think you just saw the turtles jump in. Put yourself in a position that if I was going to build a golf course, my first goal was how much maintenance would a creative golf course take? One of the things I did to back into that was to say, well, how much time each week would I feel I have to absolutely maintain my fairways? So if some group of people with some money wanted to play here, I only wanted to spend about 2.5 hours preparing it. And that, over many years, is exactly the way I designed the course. Now, before we go any further, one of the activities I like doing at the age of 65 is I always loved climbing trees. Climbing trees was something that as a boy and as a Boy Scout and a young man, I loved going as high as I could on a tree just to see how far I could see. What if I told you that you can climb a tree 65 feet tall and you at the weight of 210 pounds plus, what if I told you you could climb the tree all the way to the top to where the branches are only an inch thick and you could do it safely? I think a lot of people would struggle with, you're not going to climb a tree at the age of 65 feet tall, and be able to make it to the very top and then jump off without getting hurt. Well, I don't know. If my tree is more horizontal than it is vertical, then yes, you can climb a tree to the last tops of the branches that are only 1/2 inch thick, and then you can jump off because you'll see in a future video you're only about 6 inches off the ground. So here's a perfect example of that. For many people, a tree that has fallen over in a windstorm has got to be cut up. It's got to be removed. It's got to be burnt. It can't just lay there like that, can it? I don't know. if I had a landscaper or an arborist or someone like that, I'd probably ask them how much root material needs to stay underground in order for this tree to live long term. And that's what we're going to find out. As long as my friendly neighbors with their 3 boys can work with me, what many see as a poor tree that has fallen over, some of us see it as an amazing piece of nature's God art that, with a few supports, a little bit of time, a creative chainsaw, not to be confused with Elon Musk's chainsaw, you're going to be able to create something that will have so many different purposes that you can have fun with. So once again, you can climb a tree at the age of 65 that is 65 feet tall, that you can climb to the very top on the last ½ inch diameter of the limb, and then you can jump off of it, and then you can head to your next exercise. But again, don't try this at home. Talk to your mothers and fathers before you do it. But sometimes something can be horizontal and still be climbed. So here we are. This is my little island that we'll find out soon what animals our animal wants to call it home. I've had a number of different ducks and geese and turkeys and all kinds of different birds that they like to lay their eggs in certain places, but if they don't have the right protection, those eggs become somebody else's meal. So right now, the turtles are loving this. This is also something that you can create for all the very small fish in the lake that want to become big fish in the lake. They need a place to hide. And so let's build an island. Let's add a variety of natural plant material. Let's give it a platform that if father is kicked out of the house, he can go to the dad barn, and he can just hang out till mom says he can come back. Tot, what do you think? Once again, Tot, my caddy. Tot, here, get that ball. Get the ball, Tot. Okay. One of the things you'll hear me talk about all the time on my podcast, talk about how I love my country. Out on the road, you'll see where I love my God. Being here for 30 plus years with my family, I love my family. And I'll always say how much I just love people. I just usually can find something about someone that I can love. But you'll always hear me then finish with, but not always in that order. I say that because I've learned we always will struggle with each and every one of them at times. And sometimes when we're struggling with one, they may not be on the top of your list. So, when you hear me talk about the 4 that I love, but I admit that they're not always in that order, it's really my way of just saying that we struggle with things, and that's all right. When you struggle with certain things, that just means you're human. Doesn't mean you stop loving them. It just means that you might need some time to reflect on what's going on. So imagine every morning for many years, this is your gym. These are the boulders that you run across or walk across or hop across. But you navigate these boulders, and in doing so, you try to make sure that you're balanced. Your goal is not to fall in the water. Your goal is not to break an ankle. And so far, I can honestly say I've had a pretty good track record. But this bouldering that I enjoy doing, and have been since I was probably 6 or 7, is another example of, if I can still do it at 65 with a goal of 75, and hopefully by 85, I'm still here doing my bouldering. Time will tell if I'm right or not. And that's all it is. It's simply let time prove to you what you're able to do and able not to do. So here's a green. It's got a little bit of fungus on it. This par 3 green, about 170 yards from the tee box, or 120 yards from that tee box. This green was installed nearly 24 years ago. And what I'm happy to say is I really haven't had to do a whole lot to it. Which means for 24 years, 32 times a year, I haven't mowed it. I haven't had to do hardly anything to it. Is it as perfect as bent grass at your local professional golf course? No, not quite. Has technology improved tremendously on what this par 3 green versus that par 3 green? It has. It's changed a lot. Where this had 2 to 3 inches, maybe 4 inches of infill or pounds of infill per square foot. Now they're doing them to where there's almost 8 pounds. 8 pounds of infill. So once you realize that for a little bit of money and about 15 acres of land, you now have the ability to create your own 18-hole private exclusive golf course. Once again, exclusivity golfing means that you and your partners go out and you own the golf course that day. Whether it's 8 of you or 10 of you or 12 of you, you own your own golf course. You have to share it with no one. If you want to hit 45 balls off the same tee box, you hit 45 balls off the same tee box. The problem with most golf courses, I find, is that there's always this concern of how your foursome is playing with the other foursomes around you. Are you going too slow and the people behind you look like they're ready to hit into you? Are you going so fast because you're such a great foursome that you're constantly waiting on the people in front of you? And the third that I think drives most people crazy is you always have at least one person in your foursome who is constantly slicing the ball or hooking the ball, and they're constantly looking for their golf ball, sometimes a little longer than they should. Exclusivity golf simply says you now have your own golf course for your group and you play it exactly the way you want to play it. So you have 15 acres got a couple $1 million, you now can create your own golf course over time that can be exactly the way you designed it. If you want to call your golf course the hardest par 3 golf course in the Midwest for 1,000 miles, you can work with that. If you realize that because of wastage, and again, this is wastage turf, it will eventually be put in with brand new turf, but also realizing that hitting off of turf isn't nearly as fun as sometimes using your natural grass, well, you create the design. You create the design that you can play every day for an hour and a half, and you can get your golf fix over after you've launched over time 130,000+ golf balls. But your golf course becomes your golf course. And I remind you that there are so many of you out there who are wanting to start your own business. And John, we don't like to play golf. We don't want to play golf. Your golf course might be exciting to you, but why are you dwelling on it for us? Yeah, good question. Everyone has their dream of what they would love to do in the last 30, 40, 50 years of their life, right? We are a country of dreamers. We are a country of capitalists who have the ability, because we've seen it tens of millions of times, of people who have started out with nothing, and someday they have something very unique. Your golf course can be a million different things. Your idea, your dream, your passion can be so many different things. Mine became my dream when I saw a guy hitting golf balls off his deck 40 years ago, and I'm pushing a lawnmower, and I said, wow, that looks pretty cool. And I decided to push the lawnmower faster so that maybe I could do something a little bit different. My golf course is my dream. My golf course is my story. My golf course is my love of nature and being outside. It also gives me the ability to go out every day and do exactly what I want. 25 years ago, before the golf course was ever even really begun, I thought, wouldn't this be a cool shot? But in order for me to be able to run up the stone to the top of the hill, I really and truly had to fix the hill first. I had to make sure that there was going to be a hill here for the next 100 or 200 or 300 years. So I just took a day and had some stone and a piece of equipment. And I was able to build the foundation, knowing that someday I'd have the time in semi-retirement to finish the hole. Once again, I could use my Brazilian slate. I could draw some amazing pictures, and I could fantasize about what this shot would be like. And yes, this is going to be one of the tougher, if not the toughest, par 3 holes on the course. It's a long shot, but I'm sure there are golfers out there who think they're good enough to make it a par 3. What is your passion? What is your dream? and let me help you get to that dream that you can dream exponentially by showing you how you can just take a guy hitting golf balls off a deck and slowly but surely build something that for some people is a little bit unique. But I want to do it in a way that teaches you. How's it going, Tot? Tot, you good? That teaches you a formula that I have found time and time again, that if you use this formula correctly, you are going to be able to probably do amazing things. I think I've shared with you before, for years and years, this place looked like that. And then one day I thought I was running over like a big turtle shell. And 3 weeks later, with an excavator and the right kind of mold, I was able to find a pretty cool cave. But part of this ecosystem also had a very wet area. And the wet area was something that I did not want to get rid of because I liked the ecosystem it had created. So I then needed to figure out how to build a bridge. And once again, let's build a bridge with material that will last a long time. Some people don't like the holes in my bridge, so we'll fill them up with something. But here's an area whereby, again, Brazilian slate, put on some pedestals, we'll just call them pavers. This is where you can create your bridge, and suddenly while you're on your bridge, you realize, hey, there's a couple thousand little frog babies. Tadpoles, we'll call them. There will be those out there that say you cannot build a bridge with Brazilian slate. Well, okay. So that's what a bridge with Brazilian slate would look like. And if I can walk across it and Tot can walk across it, we're fine. Here is pieces of Brazilian slate that create another bridge. And once again, we have an opportunity to make the bridge as unique as the person, as unique as the golf course, that just gives him something else to play with the next day. Mimosas. Mimosa trees are another beautiful tree in the Midwest. A lot of people don't like them because they just think they're trash trees. But in about 2.5 to 3 months, you're going to see the most beautiful pink and white blooms on these trees that will give this golf course amazing color. And one of the things I've tried to set up on this course is at least every season, every couple months, I want to see a new color pop out. I want to see a new form of plant rear its beautiful head. And with that, I'll someday introduce you to the crepe myrtles. Those guys right there don't look like much now, but they're a beautiful blooming plant. All right, I think my phone is about ready to die. It's been a little while, but hopefully today gives you a little bit better understanding of why this podcast, Trespassing Allowed, is something that I've planned for many, many years. And hopefully this different kind of backyard that allows me to do 100 things a day, both physically, emotionally, socially, gives me a a classroom, a showroom to operate from. I love teaching young people. I was told many years ago, John, you should be a teacher. And they were right. So let me first build my classroom. Let me spend about 30 years coming up with a plan so that if you someday want to dream exponentially, maybe you'll listen a little bit and maybe I can give you some ideas. Some ideas that, do they change sometimes? Sometimes they change. Here's an example. The first area I was going to build the tree house deck for one of the tee boxes was going to be closer to the pine trees. However, interestingly, as Mother Nature and God decided that they didn't want it there, I now realize that the treehouse will more likely be on the larger, stronger trees to the north. But my green I'm standing on right now was installed by Southwest Greens Midwest, an amazing company that I have never seen so much detail put in the construction of a simple synthetic turf green as I did with these gentlemen. They took their time, they cut no corners, and their company blew me away at how good they were with detail. No, it's not 25 years old yet, but I do hit many balls and cut on this every single day. And so far, my dream of what this green would look like, my expectations, they blew them away. So I hope you've enjoyed the spring walk. I hope you've enjoyed the springtime talk, because for an old landscaper, this is about as beautiful a day as you could ask for. But when I talk about your dream, whatever that may be, stick around and I'll tell you how mine worked out and maybe a few pointers along the way. Thank you so much for taking the time to go on this walk. If you're still with me from the beginning, I'm just greatly appreciative. And hopefully you can get out there this weekend, enjoy some springtime weather, enjoy some really cool basketball. Yes, I am a Purdue and a Bruce Pearl fan from Auburn. So those are the teams I'm cheering for. But once again, love your God, love your country. Please love your family, because they will be there for you when you need them. And just go out and find some people to love. Just go out there and find a new friend today. And yet, if you struggle or become frustrated or upset with any one of those four, don't kick yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Just try to work through it. And who knows, tomorrow they may be in a different lineage. TrespassingAllowed.com. Enjoy the day and go out there and dream of something big. Take care.